Hello, Ken Taylor here, and welcome to Commercial Truck Training. By the way, America's #1 commercial and fleet training program. Today I want to talk about a very special subject to me, and I call it cost per lead. And I want to explain a little bit about what you need to look for when you're going to be marketing and what your cost is versus your return. There are three things that we actually want to look at. One is cost per lead, that is what you pay to get leads. For instance, let's say you had 100 leads and those leads cost you $100 to get them. That's $1 per lead. Now that's not the most important number that we look at. So there's also called cost per actual prospect. And a prospect is anyone who responds to your lead. So let's say, again, we'll use that example of 100 leads, $100, $1 per lead. Yet, when we send it out and we market it, we get 10 responses. So, if we get 10 responses, now the cost per prospect is $10 per prospect. And finally, we have cost per sale. So, if we have those 10 and we sell 2, our cost per sale is actually $50 per sale. So what number should we be looking at? Cost per sale. What's it going to cost us to drive something into the store? For instance, on the retail side, the average amount spent for advertising and marketing per unit sold, or the cost per sale, is between $300 all the way up to as much as $800+ in advertising and marketing with television, radio, newspaper combined, and internet. Now, on the commercial side, we don't worry so much about the mass media marketing because it's not as effective. What we do worry about are the quality of lists and the response rate from those lists. And that's what I really want to focus on. So let's say we use RL Polk a lot. It's a great, their lists are great. They come from VIN numbers where we can really slice and dice. We can know how old the vehicle is. We can know what kind of engine it's got. And there's a lot of things we can know about that from the RL Polk list. So that's our favorite list. And in fact, our contact with RL Polk is Gary Mateer. So I have to give Gary a plug right now. We love what he does and the quality of information that we get. So we get an RL Polk list. What do we do with it? Typically, here's what happens. And the bigger the list, unfortunately, the worse the list. Example, and here's a great example. This is a live example. I'm not going to name the dealership. I'm not going to name the year, but a good friend of mine actually came up to me and said they did this. They had a 3,000 company list. 3,000. They did a 3,000 piece mailing at roughly $1.50 per mailer, including postage and the publication and printing and everything about it. So if you've got a 3,000 person list at $1.50, that's $4,500 that you spent in order to send that out. And that doesn't count the cost of the list. So you probably paid another $1,000. It's probably going to be about $5,500. The response rate on a list like that is usually 0.5% to 1%. So 3,000, do the math, it's going to be anywhere from 15 to 30. Of those 15 to 30 responses, the actual closure rate on those is about 10%, or 3 to 4 vehicles. Now you can start to understand why we're not big fans of huge mailing lists. We want to take a list, I don't care if there's 3,000 names on it, but we're going to divide it up. We typically do it by zip code first. We want to market to the people who are closest and the companies that are closest to the dealership. And we only send out 10 marketing pieces per salesperson per week. So that might take a while to get that list out, but why do we do that? Because A, we want to be able to follow up with a phone call with every one of them, and B, it's going to dramatically up our what we call our take rate, those that actually will make an appointment for us to come by and show them a vehicle. So think about your list. If you're going to have a large list, which we don't necessarily recommend, but if you do, You're going to divide it up 10 per week per salesperson, and it has to be a follow-up phone call, and it has to be a very good word track with that phone call if you're going to do that. So that's one way to improve your cost per sale, is by having a total strategy and plan, right down to what you send out. Most people, when they send a marketing piece, they focus on price, 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 price. You should be focused on value, value, value. How are you going to make a difference with that company? Everybody talks about price. Very few people talk about value. It's kind of part one on this. I'm going to stop at that point because we like to keep these things to the point and brief. So I've given you a lot of pointers today on how to effectively use a list. The last thing I want to say about lists is understand how the list was gathered. Where did it come from? In the case of R.L. Polk, it comes off of VIN number, so it's very accurate information on the dealerships right down to the age. R.L. Polk also has a new product out, which is a predictability model. They've taken all their data over the many years, and they've looked at when different companies are in the market to purchase vehicles. So we can actually contact them when they're more likely to be in the market. So use these tools. When you do that list, though, let's keep it down to roughly 25 to 50 mile radius of the dealership, and then ask for certain things. For instance, we like brand friendly. So if you're a Ford dealership, you're going after Ford. If you're a Chevy dealership, you go after Chevy, Chrysler, Mercedes, Nissan. That's the best way to start, because you don't have to convert them from their brand to your brand. If you want to get into conquest, that is a whole different marketing and a whole different product, the way we handle that. So we're not going to talk about conquest today. Hope you got some information out of this. Be careful with those big old gigantic lists, because you're going to spend a lot of money with very little result. Thank you, Ken Taylor for Commercial Truck Training.